There is a version of healing that looks impressive. It speaks loudly about breakthroughs, posts milestones, gathers witnesses, and turns recovery into a visible arc with dramatic turning points. It receives applause. And then there is the other kind, the kind that happens in silence, in rooms where no one claps. It does not announce itself, seek validation, or need to be seen to feel real. This second kind is often mistaken for stagnation. It is not. Quiet healing is not passive or weak. It is a disciplined internal reconstruction of identity, demanding psychological maturity that public transformation rarely requires. When you heal in crowds, there is momentum. Mirrors reflect your growth back to you. Encouraging voices reinforce your progress when your resolve falters. Social energy carries you forward. But when you heal quietly, there is no external scaffolding. No one sees the night you chose not to repeat a familiar mistake. No one applauds when you remain calm instead of reacting. No one documents the afternoon you allowed yourself to feel grief instead of numbing it. There are no metrics, only you and the slow recalibration of your internal world. Modern culture misunderstands this process. It equates visibility with value and suggests that what is not shared does not matter. But psychological integration does not require an audience. It requires honesty. Being observed too early can distort healing. When watched, you may perform growth instead of embodying it. You may craft a narrative about your progress before it stabilizes within you. Public healing has its place. Community reduces shame. Shared vulnerability can be powerful. But beyond a certain threshold, exposure weakens depth. True healing is not a spectacle. It is a restructuring of how you think, respond, and interpret events. That restructuring often requires solitude. When you stop explaining your pain, something shifts. You no longer filter experience for approval. You stop shaping struggles into digestible stories. You allow confusion to exist fully. In silence, you cannot outsource interpretation. You sit with contradictions. You confront habits that once protected you, but now limit you. Perhaps you learned to overfunction to avoid criticism. Perhaps you stayed small to maintain harmony. Perhaps you chased validation because it once equaled safety. These adaptations were intelligent. They stabilized you when stability was scarce. But over time, they hardened into identity. Quiet healing softens that identity, not with dramatic declarations, but with small, consistent shifts. You pause before responding. You allow silence. You say no without over-explaining. From the outside, these changes seem minor. Internally, they are structural. You interrupt neural patterns carved through repetition. You teach your nervous system that different responses are possible, that disagreement is not danger, disappointment is not rejection, and discomfort is not catastrophe. This work is slow. It rarely feels triumphant. It often feels anticlimactic. There are no dramatic releases or sudden personality shifts, only repetition. Again and again, you choose the slightly healthier reaction. Again and again, you tolerate unfamiliar discomfort. Again and again, you refrain from broadcasting your internal victories. Gradually, your baseline stabilizes. Panic becomes manageable tension. Spirals become reflection. What once defined you becomes something you can observe. This is not theatrical transformation. It is neurological rewiring, and it thrives in privacy. Crowds introduce comparison. Comparison distorts progress. You begin measuring your healing against timelines that are not yours. Quiet healing removes that distortion. It allows sustainable pacing. It gives room to regress without humiliation and struggle without explanation. There is a deeper dimension to healing alone. Without narrating your process, you become more intimate with it. You notice distinctions between anxiety and anticipation, anger and hurt, exhaustion and avoidance. This granularity matters. Healing is not eliminating pain, it is refining awareness. In solitude, you trace reactions to their origins. You ask difficult questions without worrying how the answers will sound. Why do I brace for criticism when none is present? Why assume conflict means abandonment? Why feel responsible for emotions that are not mine? These questions do not need witnesses. They require sincerity. There is a paradox. The quieter the healing, the more durable the transformation. Growth fueled by validation weakens when validation fades. Growth fueled by understanding stabilizes. This is why some of the strongest individuals carry invisible histories. You see their grounded presence, but not the years of private recalibration. You do not see the evenings spent reflecting instead of reacting, the patterns examined and tested again. Healing embeds itself quietly in posture and presence. There is humility in healing without spectacle. You do not center yourself as a hero of suffering or demand recognition for endurance. You allow growth to be ordinary. And because life is mostly ordinary, that growth becomes sustainable. Breakthroughs are rare. Daily decisions are constant. Quiet healing aligns with this rhythm. It teaches that strength is consistent, clarity steadies, and peace is a pattern, not an event. This does not mean isolation. It does not mean rejecting support. It means recognizing that the core work happens within you. Others can support or affirm, but they cannot rewire your responses or integrate your wounds. Integration is solitary. It is choosing differently when triggered without announcing it. It is feeling shame without letting it dictate behavior. It is forgiving yourself privately. These moments accumulate. They do not trend, but they transform you. There is something sacred about growth without display. It cultivates quiet confidence, not pride, but steadiness without proof. You know what you endured. You know what changed. You know the patterns you no longer tolerate, because this knowledge was not constructed for approval. It feels solid. Healing quietly is not hiding. It is honoring the intimacy of your evolution. It is trusting that deep shifts are not strengthened by noise. There may come a time to speak about what you overcame when your experience supports someone else. But if that time comes, it will not be because you required witnesses. It will be because your healing is no longer fragile. Until then, let it be quiet. Let it be steady. Let it unfold without urgency. Some transformations lose strength when exposed too early, and some forms of resilience are built best where no one is watching. Not because they are meant to be hidden, but because they are meant to be real.